The next lesson is using the square root property with complex numbers. It works pretty much the same. Here are your steps, though, that you can write in. Solve for your squared variable, simplify the square root, and include the positive and negative to that. So it's going to be the same as we did in the last chapter, except your answer is going to be imaginary in this case. So in this one, to get p by itself, we're going to take plus or minus the square root of negative 44. Well, as soon as you see a negative underneath the square root, you're going to bring out an I. So the plus or minus stays, but you're going to bring out an I. And then the square root of 44, you're going to see if you can break that down. So this is 4 and 11, which is 2 and 2. So you have a couple. So that couple is going to go out in front. So you have your plus or minus, then 2i, and then underneath the square root is the single 11 that's left. So the only thing that's different is that you're taking an I out as soon as you see a negative sign. So like here, to get r by itself, you're going to do plus or minus the square root of negative 54. So again, as soon as you see a negative sign, this becomes plus or minus I square root 54. So then what you're going to do is break 54 down, 9 and 6, 3 and 3, 3 and 2, couple, single, single. So the couple is going to go out in front, so I have plus or minus 3i, and inside is 6. And that's going to be your final answer for that. Okay, so solving your next one, add 7 to the other side. So I have a squared is equal to negative 3. Then to get a by itself, you're going to do plus or minus the square root of negative 3. As soon as you see a negative sign, that becomes plus or minus I root 3. And then you look to see, can I break down 3? Well, no, you can't. So that's your answer, the end. Here, add 4. So n squared is going to be negative 5. So n is going to be plus or minus the square root of negative 5. So here's your sign. I get plus or minus I root 5. And because 5 doesn't break down, that's your final answer. First, to start here, I would subtract 6. So I have negative 2x squared is equal to negative 46. Divide by negative 2. And I have that x squared is equal to a positive 23. So now I'm going to take the square root, plus or minus the square root of 23. So this one does not have an imaginary solution because it doesn't have a negative. We eliminated that. But you do have plus or minus the square root of 23, which doesn't break down any further. Okay, same situation here. We're going to add. So I have negative 9x squared equals negative 26. Dividing this by negative 9, I have x squared equals positive 26 over positive 9. So remember when you're doing fractions, you get plus or minus the square root of 26 over the square root of 9. So we can try and break both of these down. This is 13 and 2. They're both prime. So that's still going to stay the square root of 26. And your denominator is the square root of 9, which is 3. Okay, so no different than what we did in the past. You're just going to get imaginary solutions when you have a negative underneath the square root.